Welcome back, enigmatologists. It has been too long. Before I show you my new puzzle though, I just wanted to take a second and thank Greg's Puzzles and J.R. Cuber. Both of them featured some of my recent work on their channels, and you can check out the links to those videos in the description below. So thank you, Greg, and thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate that you guys did that, and I'm glad you enjoyed playing with those puzzles too. And especially thank you to TwistyTex, who not only purchased those puzzles, but was also kind enough to lend them to Greg and Jesse to feature on their channels. Number 2. If you don't already know, I do have an Instagram account where I post pretty regular updates about the projects that I'm working on. I also just set up a new Patreon, where you can give me all your money and I can turn it alchemy-like into new puzzles. So the links for both of those will be in the description below. And now, without further ado, I give you my latest puzzle. This is my entirely handmade Gigahexaminx. It's a cubic transformation of a 2-layered dodecahedron. This is also my largest modification to date. It has 242 individual pieces, and of those 242 pieces, it also has 14 unique types of pieces. And that total also goes up to 22 types if you include all the mirrored reflections of each piece. Each face has 53 individual stickers on it, which means that there are a total of 318 individually hand-cut stickers on this puzzle. The Gigahexaminx from the very first cut to the last teeny tiny sticker took me about 9 months to complete. But the story of this puzzle is much older than that. The Gigahexaminx was just the logical next step when I finished one of my earliest puzzles, the original Hexaminx, which you can still check out on one of my earliest videos here on YouTube. Turned out really nice, and looks very nice. It's nice, very nice. Turns out nice, very nice. Which is probably the cringiest thing that I've ever uploaded. Now, as soon as I finished that puzzle, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could make one of these out of a Gigaminx? The problem was, back then I was a real Puritan when it came to modifying puzzles. I thought I couldn't cut anything beneath this first line right here, because I didn't like the idea of cutting down into the mechanism. I just thought it wouldn't look good. So for the most part, I abandoned the idea, even though in the back of my mind it was something I still really wanted to do. It was a couple years later that Nathan Wilson showed off his deep cut Megaminx, which is basically a Hexaminx only cut much, much deeper. So deep that it actually reduces some of those corners just to their stalks. And when I saw that puzzle, it made me realize that I didn't have to maintain the integrity of the outer cuts, and that it was okay to cut as deep as possible into the mechanism, because the end result actually looked really cool. So it made me realize maybe I could make a Gigahexaminx. So I gave it a shot with the only Gigaminx that I had lying around, which was an MF8 Gigaminx. And this was the result. It became a monstrosity. I was able to cut down pretty deep into the mechanism, but by extending these corners here, they became enormous. And the more I worked on it, the more I realized that this just was not going to work. So I had to abandon it. That was when I remembered using the Shengshao Killaminx in my Boric puzzle, because the Shengshao Killaminx is basically still a Megaminx, which made me think maybe I could use Shengshao's Master Killaminx to make a Gigahexaminx, which is what I did. So this puzzle is not made from any mass-produced Gigaminx in the traditional sense, but Shengshao's Master Killaminx is pretty much mechanically identical to a Gigaminx. And that's what allowed me to not only make this puzzle, but to make it without any extensions. It also meant that because some of those pieces were already enlarged on the Master Killaminx itself, that there would not be any extreme size differences in the pieces, versus my first attempt with the MF8 Gigaminx. So even though I didn't have to make any extensions on the Master Killaminx itself, because of the sheer volume of pieces on this puzzle, it was still a pretty daunting process. So I started by cutting down the Master Killaminx into a roughly cubic shape. I then took it to the belt sander to get it even closer to a cube shape. Once I got it to a size I was comfortable with, I took it all apart and started filling each and every little piece with epoxy putty. And I filled, and I filled. There were quite a few holes, and some that I probably didn't really have to fill at all, but I've always been a perfectionist and wanted everything to be seamless. So I filled, and I filled, until it looked like this. After that, I took it back to the belt sander and got it as close to the finished cube as I was going to get. This also meant that I had to take it apart several times, reassemble it, sand it again, take it apart, reassemble it, to make sure that every piece would be flush on any individual face that it was placed on. After that, I took it apart again and started to polish every piece and round off every edge. So I sanded and polished and sanded and polished, fixed some holes and cracks, sanded, polished. At some point, I finally just stopped filming because I was so fed up with having to set up my camera and then get going, and I just wanted to get it done. So that's why I don't really have any footage of anything else. Now, originally I sent this off to Chewbacca on the Twisty Puzzles forum to have some stickers designed and cut for it. And I really wanted this fluorescent textured vinyl that you see here. Now, Chewie did design some stickers for it. However, the fluorescent vinyl material was too thick to be able to be cut on his machine. So he was kind enough to cut me some stickers on his own vinyl and send them over. And what I then did was used those as stencils to cut it on this. So every one of these stickers is technically still cut by hand. But it was a real great help to have those stickers in order to trace them onto the material and then cut them. I started this project back in April of 2018, and it took me until January of 2019 to put down the very last sticker. And I gotta say, I'm pretty darn proud of how it turned out in the end. This is probably the best puzzle that I've ever made. If not, my most ambitious at least. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was well worth the wait. In the next few weeks, I'll be uploading another video talking about how I solved this beast of a puzzle. And if there's interest, I may even upload a full blacklight solve of the Gigahexaminx like I did with my atom puzzle. If you like this puzzle, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or suggestions about what you'd like to see from me in the future, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below. And if you'd like to see more of my modifications in the future, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Thank you to all of my brand new patrons, especially to TwistyTex, Ross, Teresa, and my top patron, Kathleen.